I'm finally getting there. I'm finally going to do this character after having done characters from this franchise, from other games and future installments of the series. I'm finally going to be talking about the character from the original game in this series, and that being the Tales series. And you already see the thumbnail when it changed the name of the video if you watched my Eardrick video, which was the last one. Character 122, you will know exactly what I'm talking about now. Hello everyone, my name is Sniping Spawn, and welcome you all back to the next character in this long-running series, character 123 on the road to 150 for the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Newcomer Series videos. The Super Smash Bros. Series, Newcomer Series. Oh crap, I already showed you. Ah, you saw it there, yeah, I kind of put it. But yes, I'm finally doing this character, and that's Cress Albane from Tales of Fantasia, from the Tales series, and my Smash Newcomers list. And as always, before this intro gets way too out of hand, why does the character make sense? Moves, ideas, and percentage chance I can actually see them getting in. So let's get started. Why represent Tales in general? Why represent Cress Albane as a choice? Now, before I even talk about Cress Albane, just like the Tales series. The Tales series is also, like I've mentioned in the last video with Dragon Quest, it's not so much as Dragon Quest, actually. You know, definitely not as much as Dragon Quest, but it's within the same region. It came out on the Super Nintendo, Super Famicom. It's one of the most legendary JRPGs in history of gaming. It's been around since the 90s. It originated on a Nintendo system, and since then it's become one of the biggest JRPG series of all time. Still has multiple appearances on Nintendo, despite it going mostly to Sony. But now that the creators are saying they want to start pushing the series more as a multi-platform series, thank you, finally, Namco. We'll be especially starting to see more series after Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition comes out. More of this series coming to Nintendo. So it has history back then, it's still a history now, and they're building up to make sure it has more history in the future. It's one of the most popular JRPG series of all time. It has close ties to Nintendo, beloved characters, beloved games, beloved story. Why the heck else not? It's one of the biggest franchises from Namco, outside of obviously their classic stuff like Galaga and Pac-Man and stuff like Tekken and Soul Calibur. So yeah. And then specifically Cress Albane, well, he's the original Tales main character. It'd be like representing, like I mentioned in the last video, Eardrick's like the original Dragon Quest character. He's the original Tales character. And he's also could be very unique to sword users, which I know a lot of people are going to complain because of the certain thing they see him holding. And I know a lot of people hate swords for some reason. And it was one of the most popular weapons throughout the history of the world in wars back then, to have swords. There you go. Like I said, he can bring something new. It's not like he'd be straight up just a sword user. Like I talked about Lloyd Irving being a double sword user and his magical abilities and having him stand out. Yuri Lowe is a single sword user, but he has special magical abilities and arts and stuff that make him stand out. The same thing can happen to him, and him being as iconic as he is, and they keep referencing him in the games. There's been certain DLC and unlockable type stuff where you could dress some of your characters up in Cress's armor, and they still reference him in crossover type events and whatnot. So why pick someone else when you could pick the original? He's still technically being used. So that's basically my reason for why Cress should be the choice. Let's get on to moveset ideas. Now I know it's going to be mostly a sword weapon. But I also figured out, and I have played Tales of Fantasia, I never beat it, he uses more than swords. So I basically mentioned the same thing in Eardrick. People are going to complain, oh, he's all a sword user, but he uses like axes and sickles and boomerangs and whatnot. Technically the same thing Cress Albane uses too. He isn't just trained in sword. He's a trained swordsman, so he knows how to use a sword. That's his basic weapon. You can't take that away from him. He still has to use a sword. But I'm doing the same thing as I mentioned with Eardrick. His smash attacks are going to be a mix of weapons. He can basically use a sword, an axe, a spear, or a halberd, which is basically just another form of a spear. The basic stance he's going to have is going to be a shield and sword. So basically think Link with a shield and sword. That's basically, when he walks around, runs around, he'll be basically having a sword. But when you do certain smash attacks, not like I mentioned with like, you know, Byleth from Fire Emblem Three Houses being a multi-weapon user, or Miriam from Bloodstained, or, you know, characters I mentioned that have like 2 or 3 or 4 weapons that you switch in between. It'll be all weapons at once. Certain A attacks, smash attacks will do the sword, certain ones will use spear, certain ones will use an axe, certain ones will use a halberd. So it varies depending on if you're crouching and attacking, up in the air and attacking, if you're attacking left A, right A, up A, down A, whatever A. Standard, no directional A. He's training different weapons, so I want to represent that. Sorry, I didn't even notice I still had a paper there. using different weapons. So that will be his smash attacks doing that. His special attacks will be, just like I mentioned with Lloyd and just like I mentioned with Yuri, the various arts in the game, which are like the special abilities. I'm going to read multiple ones off right now. He'll basically be able to do Demon Fang, which most of these are throughout the entire series. If once you've just heard me say Demon Fang, you'll probably be thinking of like Lloyd. Demon Fang, Demon Fang, Demon Fang! It's like doing fire or ice or thunder in Final Fantasy. It's been used throughout the entire series. But his special attacks will basically be Sword Rain, Demon Fang, Swallow Dance, Tiger Blade, Rising Phoenix, Void Tempest, Beast, Coil, Light Spear, Hellfire, Chaos Blade, so on and so forth. Just his art abilities will basically be his special, will basically be a special attack. So standard, halberd, lance, spear, axes and sword attacks will be his smash attacks. His special attacks will be all the special art he's able to do, which some of them are elemental, some of them have like fire attacks or lightning or wind something kind of thing. So it's like some of it is magical ability, some of it is, elemental. So there's that. And then when we get on to the final smash, and I said the same thing for Lloyd, I said the same thing for Yuri. It has to be a team art. It has to be a team up with different members of the party, because I don't want to just represent Cress. I want to represent other party members from, Tales of Fantasia. So normally in Tales of Fantasia, I think you can only use 3, but later on in the series they use 4. So when I mentioned Cress, and when I mentioned Lloyd, I'm sorry, it's early in the morning, I'm a little tired here, Lloyd Irving or Yuri Lowell, I mentioned like 3 other party members alongside them doing a team art attack and various attacks they would do with destroying their opponents, knocking them off the stage. I have to do that for here just because I want to present that one extra character, even though in Tales of Fantasia you only have like 3 party members. So it's going to be obviously Cress because he's the actual character. Then there's Chester, who is an archer. Then Klaus, which I think is a mage, and Archie, which I think is a warrior or something. I don't know. It's been a long time since I played this freaking game. I can't remember. All I remember is Chester, because he's like the first party member of your childhood friend, and he's an archer. So basically, you'll pull out the final smash. You'll break the final smash bar, build up your bar, and then he goes and he summons his party members. And then you probably slash forward and attack opponents and catch them inside it first and foremost, so it's not cheap and just bringing them out. So it's a cutscene one. You'll slash your sword forward. You'll do a sliding dash, and any opponents you get caught will caught in the final smash. You surround them with 4 members. Chester will be using his arrows. Klaus will be using magic, and Archie will probably be attacking them somehow or mixing them up. Archie might be the mage, and then Cress will go in for the final blow, doing like Demon Fang or some sort of Demon Fang or Chaos Blade or Hellfire or freaking Tiger Blade or Sword Rain, and then attack him multiple times to set him flying off the stage, and that's the final smash. Percentage chance I can see him actually getting in. It's not high. It's not low. In fact, I put him right in the middle. I gave him a 50% chance, which out of the 3 I mentioned is the smallest. Because, to be fair, if we got a Tales of Series character, it would likely have to be either Yuri Lowell or Lloyd Irving. Lloyd Irving's the most Nintendo of the Tales main characters, and everyone loves Lloyd Irving since Tales of Symphonia came out. And he's like the most popular Tales character in America, but Yuri's like the most popular in Japan. So that's kind of like a Simon Belmont, Richter Belmont situation. If you haven't noticed, Simon Belmont's more popular in the West than in Japan. Richter is the most popular one. But it's kind of like that. And he's also like one of the more popular Tales characters in general. And also, he's now coming to Nintendo, so he's becoming Nintendo-oriented as well. And he was already Nintendo-oriented before because Yuri showed up in the Project Cross Zone games. So I think because of their popularity and their impact, Lloyd Irving or Yuri Lowell would be the obvious choice over Cress Albane, sadly. And also, I think they stand out being a little bit more original. Lloyd having 2 swords and Cress being more like having like the wolf and having like being more of a his attitude and how he fights is a little bit different than most the swords characters already in Smash Brothers. So I think from an original standpoint, even though he would be original too, he has probably less originality than both of them, and they have more popularity and blah, blah, blah. It'd be obviously them, sadly. But he still stands a chance because he's the original, and he's still using the series. So I think 50% chance is pretty good for Cress Albane from Tales of Fantasia. But yeah, put in the comments what you guys think. You guys like this character? Would you like to see Cress Albane in Smash Brothers? Would you or a Tails character in general, who would you personally pick? Yuri, Cress, or Lloyd? I'm sure most people would probably say Lloyd, even though I think from a marketing standpoint, especially now, I think Yuri's probably making a little more sense. But yeah, any of them would be pretty cool. I love the Tails series, and I've been growing into it over the last couple of years, so I really would love to see one in Smash Brothers, especially because the series is becoming more Nintendo-oriented, even though it already was fairly Nintendo-oriented, but now it's definitely with what Namco said over the last week or so when they mentioned that. Yes! Thank you, Namco. But yeah, that's it. 50%. There you go. Put in the comments below, you guys like this moveset idea, the multiple mixed weapons and the arts and the team art taken for Final Smash, or would you pick someone else? Discuss it down there. Okay, have fun. That's it for character 123. And when I return for character 124, I'm finally going to be talking about, after a while now, since I haven't really talked about a whole lot of them lately, another Nintendo character, another Nintendo retro character. And that's going to be Bubbles from Clue Clue Land. And I'm going to see how in the world I can make a moveset for him. Thank you. That's it, and see you all later. Bye.